During the night in a quiet neighborhood in the United States, a boy named Johnny wakes up suddenly from a terrifying nightmare. In the dream, he sees his friend Kitty being attacked by a strange monster that rises out of a lake. The dream feels so real that Johnny becomes seriously worried about her safety. The next morning, Johnny packs his bags and heads out to meet his friends. The whole group is excited because they have finally graduated, and now they are going on a fun vacation trip together to celebrate. After a long drive, they arrive at a famous rural lake area where many young people from the city come to swim party and enjoy boating. Everyone is full of energy and excitement. They start taking their bags out of the vehicle and walk toward the riverside, joking around and recording funny videos of each other. Meanwhile, Zeke, who is filming everything with his camera, starts introducing all his friends one by one. He asks everyone what they plan to do with their future now that college is over. Some talk about jobs, some talk about traveling, and others just want to enjoy life for now. Once all the luggage is unloaded, the group removes the cover from their rowing boat. Everyone works together to carry the heavy boat down to the lake. But even with all the fun around him, Johnny still cannot stop thinking about his nightmare. He becomes especially worried about Kitty, so trying to protect her, he gives her a special necklace and tells her to wear it because it can keep her safe. Kitty does not take him seriously. Instead, she lightly makes fun of the gift and tells him that if she ever feels the need to wear it, she will put it on later. That night, while everyone sits around the campfire, Johnny quietly walks over to the luggage area to grab his backpack. Suddenly, he runs into an old man named Mr. Parks, who reveals that he is repairing the engine of one of his boats nearby. The moment he hears that the young group is planning to go deep into the lake, his expression changes completely. Mr. Parks warns Johnny very seriously. He tells him that going near the center of the lake is a huge mistake because there is something dangerous hiding in those waters. The old man says that even if Johnny already knows something strange is happening there, he needs to make sure his friends understand the danger too. Johnny still decides to continue the trip and tells Mr. Parks that everything will be fine. Before leaving, Mr. Parks warns him one last time, telling Johnny to keep wearing the necklace no matter what happens, because it may protect him from whatever lies inside the lake. Soon after, all the friends gather inside the rowing boat and begin moving toward the middle of the lake. As they travel across the dark water, Johnny suddenly notices something strange moving underneath the surface. The water begins shaking slightly, but before Johnny can panic, Matt laughs and tells him it is probably nothing, just a fish or some normal lake creature. Still deep inside, Johnny feels that something is terribly wrong and that his nightmare may soon become reality. After some time, the group decides it is finally time to jump into the lake and enjoy a swim. Kitty and Deborah happily get ready and head toward the water with the others. Johnny immediately becomes nervous. Still remembering his terrible nightmare and Mr. Parks' warning, he begs everyone not to go into the lake, telling them something dangerous is hiding underwater. Nobody listens to him. The others laugh it off and start swimming around, peacefully enjoying the cool water and joking with each other like nothing could possibly go wrong. Trying to make things even more exciting, Simon lights up one of his loud party firecrackers. The explosion echoes across the lake, and the sound makes Johnny even more uncomfortable. A little later, while everyone is relaxing on the boat, some of them suddenly get pulled underwater out of nowhere. Everyone panics for a second, but then they discover it was just Matt trying to prank them. After drinking a little more, Matt swims back toward the center of the lake and casually talks with Kitty and Deborah while floating in the water. Then something terrifying happens. The boat suddenly gets pushed again from underneath. Johnny quickly looks down into the dark water, and this time he clearly sees a giant creature swimming below them. He freezes in shock. At the same moment, Kitty also realizes something feels wrong. Hearing their friends screaming from the boat, she and the others quickly begin swimming back as fast as possible. Now terrified, the group grabs the oars and starts hitting the water around the boat, hoping to scare away whatever is circling beneath them. During the chaos, Simon accidentally loses one of the oars in the lake. As Deborah leans over trying to help retrieve it, a gigantic monster fish suddenly bursts out of the water and almost bites her in half. Everyone screams. The group barely manages to pull Deborah back onto the boat alive, but once she is on board, they notice something horrible. Her arm has been badly injured. The wound is deep, and she is losing blood very fast. Since one of her main arteries was hit, Deborah quickly starts becoming weak. Even while struggling to stay conscious, she tells her friends they must get the missing oar back, warning that without it escaping the lake will become impossible. Matt carefully reaches toward the water to grab it, but suddenly the monster attacks again. This time the creature uses its giant teeth to completely destroy the oar. Now the group realizes they are trapped in the middle of the lake with a giant killer fish hunting them. At that moment, Zeke calls out to everyone in panic. When they look back at Deborah, they realize she has not survived her injuries. The entire group goes silent in shock. Trying not to attract the monster any further, Matt slowly moves Deborah's body so the blood will not keep dripping into the water. Wanting to escape immediately, Simon starts rowing the boat toward land using the remaining paddle, but the movement only attracts the creature again. The giant fish slams into the boat with terrifying force. Furious and scared, Simon uses the paddle like a weapon and stabs the creature with it. The paddle gets stuck in the monster's body, making it easier to see it moving under the water. Now everyone turns toward Johnny. They realize he knew something about this creature the whole time. Matt notices that Johnny does not seem as shocked as everyone else, and Simon angrily demands answers, even threatening to throw Johnny into the lake if he does not explain everything. Scared and emotional, Johnny admits that he suspected something bad was living in the lake, but he never imagined his friends would actually go swimming there. He says he never wanted any of this to happen. Trying to think of a way to survive, Zeke suddenly realizes something important. The creature is following the smell of blood, and because of that, he believes they may be able to use Deborah's body to distract the monster long enough to escape. Realizing the monster is completely focused on blood, Zeke comes up with a terrible idea. He says they should use Deborah's body as bait, so that while the creature is distracted eating her, the rest of them can quickly row to shore using only their hands. The group feels horrible about it, but they know they don't have many choices left. After sadly saying goodbye to their friend, they slowly push Deborah's body into the lake. Only a few seconds later, the body gets violently dragged underwater. The others immediately start rowing with all their strength, desperately trying to escape. But while everyone is fighting for survival, Zeke isn't helping at all. Instead, he keeps filming everything using the camera attached to his wrist, almost like he cares more about recording the nightmare than surviving it. Before the group can get very far, Zeke suddenly notices something horrifying. The monster has already finished feeding, and now it's coming back for them. Thinking quickly, Matt starts using the lid of a cooler box as a makeshift paddle, while telling the others to throw water out of the sinking boat. But all the splashing only attracts the creature again. The giant fish suddenly attacks and swallows the cooler lid, leaving the group trapped once more. Now everyone realizes just how hungry and unstoppable this monster really is. Trying another idea, Zeke tells the group to throw all their food into the water, so the creature might chase that instead. They throw everything they have into the lake, but nothing works. The monster keeps following them. As fear takes over, the friends slowly begin losing hope. Then Zeke says something absolutely shocking. He says the only way the rest can survive is if one more person becomes bait, and this time he wants the group to vote on who gets sacrificed. To make things even worse, Zeke suggests everyone explain why their own life is more important than the others. This immediately turns the group against each other. Everyone starts arguing and yelling while the giant fish continues circling the boat. Suddenly, the monster attacks again, shaking the boat violently. Knowing they're running out of time, Matt orders everyone to stop fighting and vote immediately. Simon and Matt both argue that they should stay alive because they are the strongest rowers and give the group the best chance to reach land. Terrified and emotional, Kitty says she dreams of becoming a famous singer someday and inspiring millions of people around the world. Because of that, she believes she deserves to survive. Then everyone looks at Johnny. Since he stays quiet, Zeke quickly blames him for Deborah's death and says all of this happened because Johnny never warned them properly about the lake monster. At the same time, Zeke proudly claims that he himself will become a famous film director one day, so his life is supposedly more valuable than everyone else's. Finally, the voting begins. Simon and Zeke both vote for Johnny. Kitty immediately votes for Zeke instead because she wants to protect Johnny. She even asks Matt to do the same, but Matt chooses Johnny too. He explains that Johnny is stronger than Zeke and therefore has a better chance of surviving in the water. Hearing this completely breaks Johnny's heart. Disgusted by the group's decision, he quietly stands up and promises Kitty that he'll come back for her. Then he jumps into the lake. For a few terrifying seconds, everyone watches him swim away. Shockingly, Johnny actually manages to reach the other side of the lake alive. Meanwhile, the others desperately continue paddling with their bare hands. Trying to survive, Johnny dives underwater several times to avoid the creature's attacks. Soon the others lose sight of him completely. Back on the boat, Zeke and Kitty continue arguing about sacrificing Johnny. Simon angrily tells them both to shut up and keep rowing before the monster returns. But the fighting never stops, and once again the loud chaos attracts the creature. The giant fish comes charging back toward the boat. Panicking, the group searches around for anything they can use as a weapon. That's when Kitty finds a bag full of fireworks. Quickly, the friends start firing the fireworks directly at the monster. The loud explosions finally scare the creature away for a moment, giving the group a few precious seconds to breathe. But then Simon notices something even worse. The boat is sinking faster and faster. He says they'll soon need another distraction to survive. Terrified, Zeke begs the others to find another way. But when the giant monster starts rushing toward them again, panic takes over completely. Simon says there's no more time left, and slowly the group starts thinking about sacrificing Zeke next. Desperate to save himself, Zeke screams that he recorded everything on his camera. He warns them that if they throw him into the lake, everyone back in the city will find out exactly what they did. Realizing that his threats are no longer working, Zeke suddenly decides to expose a huge secret. He reveals that Matt's girlfriend has been cheating on him, and the worst part is that according to Zeke, she has been secretly meeting Simon behind Matt's back for a long time. Everyone on the boat is left completely shocked. Zeke says he has recordings of Simon and Kitty together all around their college. Since he filmed everything all the time, time, he secretly captured proof of all the betrayals. As Zeke keeps talking about all the times he recorded them together, Matt becomes furious. Simon completely loses control. Enraged by the accusations, he punches Zeke hard in the face and tells Matt to help him throw the cameraman into the lake. Terrified and begging for his life, Zeke desperately tries to save himself. He suddenly points at Kitty and says she should be used as bait instead, since she isn't strong enough to help row the boat, and also betrayed Matt. But this time, nobody listens to him. Matt finally calls for the vote, and after a unanimous decision, the group chooses Zeke. The young man screams in terror as they throw him into the water. Desperately trying to survive, Zeke grabs onto the side of the boat and tries climbing back up, but Simon violently kicks him over and over again, forcing him back into the lake. Even while panicking, Zeke keeps yelling that he's recording everything happening around them. Sadly for him, the threats no longer matter. A second later, the giant monster attacks. The creature brutally devours Zeke alive, leaving behind only his severed arm still wearing the recording camera. Not far away, Johnny suddenly wakes up near the edge of the lake. After recovering from his escape, he quickly realizes his friends are still trapped out there. Then he notices an abandoned motorboat sitting near the shore. Immediately, Johnny decides to use it to rescue the others. Back on the damaged boat, Matt sadly remembers all the good moments he shared with Zeke. He talks about how his friend was always filming something, interviewing people, and acting like a future movie director. Seeing his brother emotionally breaking down, Simon tells Matt they only did what was necessary to survive. Finally pulling himself together, Matt starts throwing unnecessary backpacks and supplies out of the boat to make it lighter. While searching through the bags, the brothers discover Johnny's backpack, and inside it they find a survival hatchet. But during the search, Matt accidentally attracts the monster again by using the floating cooler box. The giant creature immediately rushes back toward them. Furious, Matt tries to pull the object away before the monster grabs it, but it's too late. The fish attacks again with terrifying force, and the boat starts falling apart even faster. Desperate to protect everyone, Kitty grabs Johnny's hatchet and repeatedly strikes the monster on the head. Surprisingly, the attack actually works, and the creature finally backs away into the dark water. For the first time since the nightmare began, the group feels a tiny bit of hope. They realize the monster can actually be hurt. A few moments later, Kitty notices something moving in the distance. As the boat gets closer, everyone is shocked to see that it's Johnny. He came back to save them. But while Johnny approaches, Simon quietly walks over to Matt and whispers a dangerous plan. He tells his brother to distract Johnny while he secretly prepares to kill him using the hatchet. However, Johnny already knows they betrayed him earlier. So when he reaches them, he refuses to let any of them climb onto his motorboat. Instead, Johnny tells them he'll tow their damaged boat safely back to shore using a rope. If they refuse, he says he'll leave immediately and contact the authorities instead. Realizing they don't have another option, Matt calmly accepts Johnny's offer and tells him to throw the rope so they can finally escape together. Even though Johnny still feels betrayed after everything that happened, he decides to help them anyway. He carefully throws the rope toward the damaged boat, and after a few failed tries, the trio finally manages to grab it. But just when things start looking hopeful, disaster strikes again. The giant lake monster suddenly attacks Johnny's motorboat from underneath. The impact throws Johnny off balance, and he crashes onto the floor of the boat. At the same time, the engine keeps running, causing the boat to spin wildly across the water. As Johnny tries to stand back up, the rope suddenly wraps around his neck. The pressure tightens harder and harder, making it impossible for him to breathe. Johnny desperately struggles for air while being dragged across the boat. Seeing this happen, Kitty quickly grabs the hatchet and tries to cut the rope to save him, but Simon immediately stops her. He threatens to kill Kitty if she cuts the rope because he only cares about getting himself safely to shore. With the rope tightening around his neck, Johnny slowly loses consciousness. Meanwhile, Matt and Simon keep pulling harder and harder on the rope without realizing what they're doing to him. Suddenly, the damaged boats slam into each other, and the crash flips one of them over completely. Because of this, everyone loses sight of Johnny as his body sinks beneath the dark water. At the same moment, the rope gets tangled inside the boat's propellers, destroying the engine completely. Now Simon starts panicking even more since without the engine, they are trapped again in the middle of the lake. A little later, Matt notices the creature returning. He assumes the monster is coming to eat Johnny's body and tells the others to get ready to escape the second they have a chance. But then something shocking happens. The creature swims right past Johnny underwater and completely ignores him. It's almost like the monster can't even see him anymore. The group is left confused and terrified. Now knowing they must survive on their own again, Simon grabs Johnny's hatchet and starts breaking apart the wooden seats of the boat. Using the broken pieces, the trio creates 2 improvised paddles and once again starts rowing toward shore. While rowing, Matt can't hold his anger anymore. He demands answers from Simon and wants to know why his own brother betrayed him all these years. Simon stays silent. Frustrated and hurt, Matt suddenly stops rowing completely. This terrifies Kitty because they are still stranded in monster-filled water. Then Simon coldly says they need to hold another vote. According to him, one more person must be sacrificed so the others can finally swim safely to shore. To make things worse, Simon openly accuses Kitty again of betraying Matt multiple times behind his back. Hearing this makes Matt furious, and soon the two brothers begin fighting and shoving each other around inside the unstable boat. Panicking, Kitty suddenly notices the giant monster fish swimming toward them again. She screams that if they keep fighting, all of them are going to die right there in the lake. After hearing Kitty's warning about the monster getting closer, the two brothers finally stop fighting. Then Simon suddenly admits something shocking. He tells Matt that Kitty actually planned to leave with him because she believed Simon would become rich and successful someday. Hearing this completely breaks Matt. Now feeling betrayed by both his brother and his girlfriend, Matt decides to vote against Kitty. Realizing both men have turned on her, Kitty angrily says she doesn't regret anything she did. That answer pushes Matt over the edge. Without hesitation, he grabs Kitty and throws her into the lake. Terrified, she desperately tries climbing back onto the boat, but Simon cruelly smashes her hands with the hatchet to stop her from getting back up. With no choice left, Kitty holds her breath and dives underwater, disappearing beneath the surface. Watching her vanish, Simon nervously asks Matt if they should both try swimming to shore now, but Matt ignores him completely and orders him to shut up. Annoyed by his brother's attitude, Simon secretly grabs the hatchet and suddenly tries attacking him. Luckily, Matt reacts just in time. He dodges the strike, disarms Simon, and uses a fighting move to pin his brother down. But Simon keeps struggling wildly. In the middle of the fight, both of them lose balance and fall into the lake. Seeing Simon badly hurt after the fall, Matt surprisingly jumps in to help rescue his own brother. The two start swimming desperately toward land, but then Simon notices the monster rapidly approaching them from behind. In one final act of betrayal, Simon tells Matt that this will be the last vote of the group. Then he suddenly pushes his own brother directly toward the creature. Matt doesn't even get a chance to react. The giant fish immediately swallows him whole and begins tearing him apart underwater. Using the distraction to save himself, Simon quickly swims away in panic while the monster finishes devouring Matt. Meanwhile, the damaged boat floats quietly nearby. Kitty, who had been hiding underwater this entire time, secretly swims back toward it. That's when she notices Johnny's unconscious body floating beside the boat. But instead of helping him, Kitty selfishly steals his protective necklace and pushes his body away. Only seconds later, the monster returns and grabs Johnny's body in its mouth before disappearing again into the dark water. Now remembering what Johnny once told her, Kitty realizes something important. The monster seems to attack people more when they panic and stay near the surface. So she dives underwater and quietly swims toward shore. A few minutes later, Kitty finally reaches dry land alive, but the moment she gets there, she runs into Simon. The young man is shocked to see that she survived. He even starts wondering if Johnny somehow planned everything from the beginning. Terrified, Kitty backs away from Simon and tells him she saw exactly how he murdered his own brother. Trying to calm her down, Simon suddenly changes his behavior completely. He tells Kitty that he has always loved her and begs her to forgive him so they can start over together. Kitty doesn't trust him at all, but knowing Simon could easily kill her, she pretends to believe his lies. The two even share a kiss. But suddenly Simon grabs Johnny's necklace and uses it to violently strike Kitty in the neck. The young woman desperately tries escaping, but she can't get away in time. Simon brutally kills her and coldly says she will never leave that place alive. Just then, a bright light suddenly appears behind him. Simon turns around and sees Mr. Parks standing there. The old boatman notices Simon is the only survivor and immediately asks where Johnny is. Trying to fool him, Simon lies and says everyone died during the terrible attack. He pretends he did everything possible to save them, but Mr. Parks isn't fooled at all. The old man explains that Johnny was the grandson of one of his closest friends, and that he had known the boy since childhood. Then Mr. Parks reveals something terrifying. He found Zeke's recording camera, which means he already knows the truth about everything Simon did. Realizing he's been exposed, Simon desperately tries explaining himself, but Mr. Parks calls him evil and says Simon only betrayed everyone because he knew his powerful father could protect him afterward. Then the old man gives Simon one final choice. He tells him to go back into the middle of the lake and test his luck with the monster one more time. Simon refuses immediately, but to force him, Mr. Parks suddenly starts firing his gun near him. One of the bullets hits Simon in the leg. The young man falls to the ground, screaming in pain, and those screams quickly attract the lake monster toward the shore. Panicking, Simon tries running toward Mr. Parks for help, but before he can escape, the giant creature grabs him and drags him violently into the water. Within seconds, Simon is completely devoured. Finally getting revenge for Johnny and the others, Mr. Parks quietly walks away from the lake. The only thing left behind